So it says Henry Cavill's Witcher exit, and then they're asking, is it related to Superman? Is it related to drama in the show? We may never know, but it's an interesting thing to consider when you think about the idea that there was already rumblings well before this show came out that he was having problems behind the scenes with the creators of the show based on his love of the source material and their kind of willingness to go over the source material in favor of their own stuff. Right?
Yeah, we saw a former producer talk about how the people in the writer's room for The Witcher actively disliked the books and games that this show was based on, whereas Henry Cavill was a super fan. And that likely caused some friction behind the scenes because he wanted this character to be as true to the source material as possible, and he had to actively go against the scripts that they were trying to write for him that made him less serious in tone. They wanted it to be more humorous, and he wanted his character to be philosophical and serious and nuanced.
There's humor. Like I never got through The Witcher, but I started rewatching. Like I made it through the first couple of episodes and started rewatching those, and made it up through episode 6 this weekend just in preparation for this. It's I've said before 1,000 times, high fantasy isn't really my thing, but Cavill's great in this role. It's also quite a departure from Superman or his other roles, so I actually enjoyed what I was seeing. But there's humor that's interjected there, but it's more of a dark humor related to the swearing and everything. And there's a lot of puking in The Witcher. That's what I know. The first thing I noticed in the first few episodes is just, holy crap, a lot of people throw up on this show.
What a legend, though, if he did leave the show for that.
Yeah.
I think we should change the chat meme to Henry Cavill.
When you think about it, does anybody like buy a sports team and not like the sport they buy? Like, I'm trying to think of like another analog in another industry where you go into something that you actively don't like so that you can change it.
Well, here's the thing. There are career screenwriters. They're not going to be fans of everything that they write if it's derivative of an existing franchise. I totally understand that, and I don't totally sympathize with calls to hire super fans for every derivative TV show or movie. It's not possible. It's just logistically impossible to find screenwriters who are all super fans and super knowledgeable and about the source material and are talented and good at what they do.
Knowing the source material and being a competent screenwriter are two different things. And adapting is not the same thing as writing a unique script. They're different.
But how long would it take? How long does it take to read one of the books? You know, this is what I'm saying. Like, a weekend, 2 weekends. You know, like. Do your job. But
even then, like, no, say they have, right? If they don't feel an attachment to the material, they're just going to look at it as a chore, and they're going to throw it out anyway. Similar to what they were doing with the Last of Us and telling them not to play the games before doing the show.
Well, what they're going to do is, if they do their research and read the books, play the games, then they're going to find what they feel needs improvement and use the show to make all of those improvements they think it needs. If they're not the fans,
at least they will have a point of reference of what to improve on. Here they're just, I don't know what they're basing their references on beyond visuals.
Well, in order to dislike it, you have to at least give it a try. And it sounds like, from what the former producer was saying, they were vaguely familiar with the source material. They read it, whatever, given it a cursory glance, and then chose the parts of it that they felt needed a change or a refresh and used the show to do that.
So it says, so when did Henry Cavill decide to leave The Witcher? That's a big question that we may never know the answer to. We can only make an educated guess. His departure came alongside news that Geralt had been recast as Liam Hemsworth, of all people.
So the timeline, people are working out that he might have had one foot out of the door for The Witcher before he even got the go-ahead that he was back as Superman, showing that it was actually just these spiteful writers involved in The Witcher that drove him away and decided that they could do it without him, which is a death sentence for the show. Yeah. He is a make-or-break character that's basically carrying this show. Oh, yeah. And the fans are willing to say that. They said that they're going to stop watching it. Replacing the main character is a death sentence for the show's ratings.
Also, it should be pointed out that Death Knell does not have to come in season 4. Knowing that he won't be around after season 3 may cause people to check out even before they watch the final season with him in it.
And you know, it really shows that they don't know the source material with the substitution, because it's like, what I feel from this, and I don't want to like talk mess about the guy, but it's just like, and we change Henry Cavill for strong-chinned individual. Woo! It's kind
of insulting to Henry Cavill as well.
He really does look like the Borg created a mix of both Chris Hemsworth and John Krasinski, and then threw in a little Chris Pine with the hair, and that's how they got Liam Hemsworth.
He's like a
he is related to Chris.
Well, I know, but I'm saying, but he's also got John Krasinski chin.
He's like a mech actor, like a McDonald's combo actor. Because so the only thing that I know him from is the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
And to my interpretation, it's like, oh yeah, he's handsome enough for the female protagonist, isn't he? Like that was his role.
He's just kind of a filler character.
Yeah.
I remember very clearly when the original announcement was made that they were making a Witcher series, the name that a lot of people were floating around was Mads Mikkelsen. Was a name that people were throwing around early on. And that would be interesting because they already used him as a replacement for another character, being Gellert Grindelwald. Are they both? Oh, they're not both. Are they both Gellerts? No. Okay, never mind. Geralt and Gellert are close enough.
I thought it was Geralt.
Now, but they already used him as Grindelwald in in the Fantastic Beasts franchise, so they could have Mads Mikkelsen come in and clean up for another actor that just this one left on his own rather than leaving in disgrace like they unfortunately pushed Johnny Depp out.
Well, I wonder if Henry Cavill just sprung this news on them short enough notice that they couldn't have set up the third season to close out.
Yeah, well, no, I think they said that they have to do 5 for this one, or they had 5 planned or something like that.
If you have 5 planned, that's one thing, but if they're like contractually obligated to do 5, then they have to recast.
I also want to point out how bizarre that is, given that Netflix has always been cancel happy once shows get around season 3.
Yeah,
shows get into season 3, and like the ban hammer, the cancel hammer is coming for you on almost all occasions. And in this one, of all the series,
but it's better to cancel early on than ruin it and close out your script.
I think it has something to do with residuals.
You disagree? It's better to cancel early than ruin it for the end.
My thing is, if the real excuse is that, oh, it's because I'm so excited about Superman, delay the series.
Right, but that's not.
Unless the contract is like it has to come out in X and Y. Yeah. And I understand that some people contractually cannot talk mess about the project that they're in, and this may be one of those situations. Even though he's pretty much openly hinted at the fact, I'm pretty sure I saw an interview where he was talking about how obnoxious people thought he was on set, because he would clarify. He was like, well, actually, this wouldn't be the character's motivation.
Right, but you wouldn't need to have those arguments about what's appropriate for the tone of the show if you had just written it in a way that was true to the source material in the first place. And you didn't need to hire a super fan to play the main character anyway, right? So he can't be blamed for that. And what I'm wondering is maybe they had more of a problem with him staying on the project than he wanted to leave. Maybe they refused to work with his Superman schedule as a way to, soft fire him from this role, because they have they feel he is hard to work with.
Yeah.
But he was willing to stay as long as they could accommodate him.
That would be absolutely wild, because the only thing you associate with the show is him.
Right. It's extremely entitled of them.
No other character, no other performance, not even a scene. I don't know. I think has gone viral. Everything is Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Looking like The Witcher. That's it.
And I know that interest for this show, as far as I remember, dropped off a cliff in season 2. I remember there being high excitement for season 1. It did fine, and then season 2, I don't remember anything really. I remember the animated movie had a little bit of. They did like an animated movie in between season 1 and 2, I believe.
Everything was a little padded though during that time. Wasn't it during pandemic time?
It could. It probably came out at the start of 2022 or 2021.
Season 1.
Season 2.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like season 1 was probably padded with like people at home.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll watch this.
Few decisions. Yeah, I think that's why Enola Holmes 1 did well too, because it came out during COVID, right in the middle of it all.
Yeah.
And Henry Cavill's in the sequel, which just came out for Enola Holmes. He's on kind of a press tour there's a lot of eyes on him, and it's extremely telling that the people running The Witcher are willing to kick him out the door, supposedly, just because he is running headlong with their desire to completely subvert this franchise.
Do you guys remember when us as a species chose to care about Tiger King?
Oh yeah,
that was early pandemic.
I was there.
I never. Did you watch it?
I watched it.
Did you watch it too, Brett?
I just followed. I mean, that was I was pretty stuck in social media at that time. So all you endured for like a couple of months was Tiger King memes.
Like, it wasn't even funny to me. I never gave in and watched it. I'm proud of that to this day.
I don't think it was a funny show. I think it was like kind of a weird, odd.
Yeah,
tragic.
It's dark.
Yeah,
like I wasn't really interested in a story like that.
Like, the guy from that show is still on TMZ from time to time, like getting married from jail and stuff like
Serious?
that. Yeah.
Is he in jail?
Yeah, he's in jail. He got married in jail and then like divorced in jail or something like that.
I'll never financially recover from this.
Did they make a Tiger King dramatization? That's in the works, right? I vaguely remember someone saying that there was a Tiger King dramatization.
It's not out yet.
Like that could come out with the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
At the same time as the second pandemic.
Johnny Depp could play Joe Exotic.
Oh, and this lady
Johnny
can play
Exotic.
Carol Baskin?
Yeah.
Who would play Carol Baskin?
Amber Heard.
Amber Heard could... Oh, no, she's too pretty to play.
She's way too pretty.
Carol Baskin.
Like if they could put it put her in a, I guess it wouldn't be a fat suit. It'd be like an overweight suit. A mildly overweight suit, and then have her play.
You're good at casting. Who should they cast?
Carol, the girl from... hold on. From Justified.
I have one, but I don't know if it's insulting. The
Go ahead.
older sister from Full House.
No.
I tried.
I can't think of her. You know what I'm talking about, right? The older lady.
Well, if they're gonna cast her as like prettier than she actually is, maybe I don't know, Gwyneth Paltrow.
No, we got to go bigger than that. I can't remember the actress's name. I failed today on that.
Thank you for going on this like tangent with me.
Yes,
appreciate that.
Because we all just need to process the trauma of Tiger King. The only thing anyone talked about.
Yeah, that was when I truly felt as part of the Borg. I was like, I
knew
will
it was
watch
a psyop.
Tiger King.
I know I call everything a psyop, but Tiger King was a psyop. You can't tell me I'm wrong.
They got me hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah. Margot Martindale. That's the name of the actress.
Okay.
She might be a little bit. I mean, she's too old probably to play her.
Carol Baskin in her 60s, right?
This lady.
Carol Baskin.
She could do it.
She could do it. We'll have her play Carol Baskin.
Oh, what have I seen her in?
She's been in a lot of stuff.
I know I have.
So that would be my.
She was. Oh, I know. She was Dee Dee's mom in The Act. She's really good at acting crazy, like terrifyingly crazy.
I mean,
so I feel like Tiger King went the way of like I said, The Witcher just went up and over my head after those first few episodes. The timeline got kind of easier to follow after episode 4, and that was about as far as I could get episodes 4 or 5. But in general, getting rid of Henry Cavill is not a good idea.
So with the degradation of the script,
it would be like getting rid of Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man in those early films. It would be the same level of stupidity.
So if season 2 is already a step down from season 1, and Henry Cavill was the only reason people came back to it, I don't have high hopes for season 3, where people are already dejected and don't want to stay invested in the story because they don't want to see Liam Hemsworth. And then the next 2 seasons after that are just going to be...
No, but season 3 is with him.
Yeah, season 3
Yeah, I know, but they're not going to want to stay invested in the story if they know that he's leaving.
I'm not a completionist. I'm one of those people that I can watch a couple. Like, if you look at my all my streaming queues, they're all at these random points in series where I just pick up and I leave off and then I pick back up 7 months later. Or I have this thing. I don't know if this happens to anyone else. Tell me if this happens to anyone else. I go through like it's like a hump that I have to get over. Like there's an episode that I just can't get through, and I just keep turning it off, and eventually I just have to skip it. Otherwise, I just keep putting it on for 2 minutes, turning it off, and then coming back a week later.
You're highly temperamental
and
with
extremely
things like
ADHD.
But I think it's always better to cancel a show if you're actually going to ruin it going too far.
I have a war with a game called Final Fantasy 12. It's part of my favorite franchise, and I've started it like 5 times and I can never finish it. I always lose interest.
Why not? Oh, just gets bored.
Because
Did they make it too difficult?
No. Oh my god. And that's what so I feel like I'm so triggered right now.
Okay.
Because everyone on the message boards is like, you just didn't get it. Like, you didn't get the mechanics. My issue is that you can automate what your characters do, and I did it so well to the point where I only had to hold forward. Mm-hmm. So it was too easy.
Yep.
And I got bored.
So is there an example of following the source material very, very well in recent history? And I want to ask the chat, who would you, if you had to, if you're put in this position and you guys were forced to cast someone other than Henry Cavill, who would be the person to do so?
I got an example of something that, but it was made by Nintendo itself. And I feel like I've used this example several times. But there was a short series basically about the video games, the Pokemon video games, the original. Mm-hmm. And in the animated series, the protagonist made the common mistakes that the player would make. For example, like having a bunch of weenie Pokemon in the beginning and only one good one, and also trying to catch the other trainer's Pokemon, and that series just like smacks you with a nostalgia. One's like, oh my god, I did that, and that's the one where I'm like absolute pitch perfect.
I mean, there's the obvious example of the Harry Potter films. Those
aren't good at adaptations though. They're legitimate. There's too much from the books where then you have to read the books for the movies to make any freaking sense.
Sure. They deviate from the books enough where you should be familiar with the books first, but also it's because the author was intensely involved in the making of those films. And with Henry Cavill in particular, I think, even with Man of Steel, there's this theme where he's the victim to bad writing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, a lot of people aren't.
When is that going to stop?
People aren't fans of the fact that he they didn't even really like him in as the character in like, people love his character as Superman, but they're not huge fans of that adaptation. But I heard mixed reviews for The Man from U.N.C.L.E., and he was in that, and people love him in that. They love him in Mission Impossible, but he plays the bad guy in Mission Impossible. Henry Cavill's one of those actors that just, I think he kind of does survive in the fact that he is kind of a man of the people in a weird way, because, like I said, his material as Superman hasn't been good. The snapping Zod's neck and all of the things that happened in that film don't feel like they gave him the chance to really be the Superman he deserves. And maybe it'll be an impossible goal to fill. Like, people are expecting him to have this great run as Superman, but he's never been given the option. But I think he is the quintessential example of somebody who does share a passion for the role, and that gives people a lot more precedence for leeway. I remember there was a thing they did in promotion for Batman vs. Superman, where they had him, when people were talking about how, like, the Superman costume would never work. Like, you can't just put glasses on a guy and act like he's not Superman. They sent Henry Cavill out to stand under a big Superman banner with glasses, and nobody recognized him.
That's awesome.
Really?
Nobody, like, they did the thing. They parted his hair the opposite way. They put glasses on him, and nobody recognized him.
He's good at fully being immersed in a role. Yeah. And even if there's bad writing, he can stand out, which takes a lot of talent.
Yeah.
I obviously don't hope that continues for him in this upcoming Man of Steel sequel, or, him being reintroduced in different cameos in DC movies.
I saw in the chat somebody mentioned that Reacher was a really good adaptation recently. I didn't read any of the Jack Reacher books, but I know that I for one sung the praises of that show endlessly when it came out. I talked about it every day for like it's one of the whenever we watch something, right? Like we have to work to get through it. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. I didn't just watch that show through the first weekend. I watched it through twice in a week. Like all 8 episodes without, like, one time taking notes and one time without it. I don't remember there was an adaptation of something that I was that excited about. Like, I'm hoping that's what I want the Tulsa King to be when it comes out. I want it to be something that I can watch through several times without needing to want to do it for work, but you just want to do it, period. Mm-hmm. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. Thank you.
The new Hellraiser was praised for staying true to source material.
Yeah.
not updating it, but not updating it in an obnoxious way.
Yeah, I don't know. Well,
I don't think it's fair to call for like this one article we were looking at the end of it. It calls for hiring fans and hire super fans like Henry Cavill, but
I don't think there's anything wrong with hiring them as consultants. But then the question is, how much do you actually? Like, they wouldn't use them. They would just ignore them.
Yeah, there are only so many people who are experienced at being writers.
Yeah.
And there are only so many super fans of this franchise. I mean, all you can ask for is the bare minimum, which is that they don't hate the fan base and actively dislike
or if they
the source material. That's the bare minimum.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.